Over the past 22 years, Call of Duty has managed to release a game almost every single year.
Unlimited games and no games.
With that many entries in the franchise, it should come as no surprise that a lot of games were scrapped during development and never made it to store shelves. So today, we're going on a trip to the Call of Duty graveyard and taking a look at what could have been. Without any more yapping, here are the canceled games of Call of Duty. The first game I want to talk about is Call of Duty Devil's Brigade. In 2007, after the release of Modern Warfare, a small team of developers known as Underground Development began working on a Call of Duty spin-off titled Devil's Brigade. Devil's Brigade was yet another COD game set in World War II, but what made this one interesting was it was in third person, which would have been a first for the franchise. The game followed a group of American and Canadian soldiers based on the real-life 1st Special Service Force, aka the Devil's Brigade, in their campaign in Italy and France. Unfortunately, this game was scrapped in 2008 during the merger of Activision and Vivendi Games, with Underground Development going under in 2010. Not much is super known about this game, besides for the leaked screenshots and videos I've been showing. I think this game would have been pretty exciting at the time, but after a million World War II CODs and even multiple third-person game modes, I'm not too devastated that this game never released. Before Advanced Warfare, and even Black Ops 2, Activision was already pushing the franchise towards the future with Call of Duty Future Warfare. Neversoft began developing Future Warfare, codenamed NX1, in 2011, and it was set for a 2013 release date. The game was meant to take Call of Duty in a different direction, taking place 30 to 50 years into the future. Not much was really known about this game until the beta build leaked in early 2024, giving us a good look at all the maps, guns, and campaign missions. Even though the prototype featured over 30 maps, it's incredibly likely that a lot of these maps wouldn't make it to the final game. But why was this game cancelled? It's actually unknown why Future Warfare was scrapped. All we do know is that at some point during development, the Future Warfare team was folded over into Call of Duty Ghost, where a lot of Future Warfare was recycled into. And I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of the ideas for this game were carried over into later games like Advanced Warfare and Infinite Warfare.
Boo!
Again, I'm not too upset about this game getting cancelled, since we've already gotten a lot of futuristic Call of Duties, and it seems like a lot of concepts and assets were reused into other CODs anyway. However, one cancelled Call of Duty I think is pretty interesting is Call of Duty Vietnam.
Scoreboard! Scoreboard!
Call of Duty Vietnam was a third-person COD developed by Sledgehammer Games sometime before 2011 for their first ever Call of Duty project. This game took place during, you guessed it, the Vietnam War. Unlike other CODs that had missions that took place in Vietnam, this game was completely about the Vietnam War. According to Glenn Schofield, the co-founder of Sledgehammer, Vietnam was supposed to be a lot scarier than previous CODs and lean more into horror elements. Which honestly sounds pretty cool, because COD hasn't gone anywhere near the horror area before or after this, and is kinda just stuck with the generic war action game. But why exactly was Call of Duty Vietnam cancelled? Well, this one actually has a pretty simple explanation. At the time, Infinity Ward was developing Modern Warfare 3 and was having a lot of internal struggles, so Activision decided to cancel Vietnam and put Sledgehammer on the MW3 team to help out with the game. They probably figured it was better to get MW3 out on time rather than take a chance on a unique and risky idea like Vietnam. Which, I understand, but it's still pretty unfortunate. After this, Sledgehammer would continue to make standard Call of Duty titles, and in my opinion, the worst ones. But I think Call of Duty Vietnam could have definitely been an interesting game, and I'd like to see what it would be like if it actually released. The fact that it was supposed to be more horror focused is what really makes it stand out to me. And considering Schofield created Dead Space, this could have been a truly special COD, and I'm disappointed that we'll never see it release. Speaking of unique ideas, the next COD I want to talk about is Call of Duty Roman Wars. This one's a really interesting case because there's truly nothing else like it in the COD franchise. Thought of by Vicarious Visions back in 2008, Roman Wars was going to be yet another third-person spin-off. But what made this game so different was that it was set in ancient Rome. At the time, Activision wanted to capitalize off the success of the franchise, so they started asking developers to come up with some ideas for spin-off games. This led to the team over at Vicarious Visions to present a COD set during the Gallic Wars. The game would have followed a soldier named Titus Pullo, who was based on a real person in Julius Caesar's writings, and the story would have focused on Caesar's own accounts of the battles. And speaking of Julius Caesar, he would have been a playable character alongside some other Roman soldiers. Not much is really known about this game because it didn't make it very far into development, but a prototype was made later down the line, which featured the player being able to use axes, spears, bows, catapults, and even rideable elephants. Like I said, the game didn't make it far into development at all, and it was ultimately rejected by Activision for not fitting the Call of Duty brand and them not wanting to oversaturate the market, which is kind of ironic looking back. After this, Vicarious Visions started working on another Call of Duty game called Call of Duty Tactics, which also ended up getting cancelled. Following that, the team would assist in the development of Black Ops Cold War and Warzone, before just being merged into Blizzard in 2022. A few members of Vicarious Visions would end up leaving Activision, however, and tried pitching the game to Ubisoft under just the name Roman Wars, which is what the prototype was built for. But again, the game was rejected. I think this game was a huge missed opportunity for COD and would have been pretty cool. And if Roman Wars ended up actually releasing, we might have seen a lot more CODs being set in unique time periods. The last game I want to talk about doesn't really have a title and was simply codenamed Project Z. Project Z was a fully standalone zombies game developed by Ravensoft in 2011. It was going to be a free-to-play, live service game with microtransactions. Hold on, don't get too excited, because it was also going to be open world. Yeah, so players begin the game as a gladiator fighting in an arena, which would likely go on to become 9 from Black Ops 4. And once you escape the arena, you're free to explore the open world, where you get to fight zombies, save citizens, and presumably complete quests. I really couldn't find a clear reason why this game was cancelled, but if I had to guess, it was probably because Activision didn't want to split the fan base by putting zombies into its own game. Yeah, I really don't care that this game was cancelled at all. After playing MW3 Zombies, which I'm guessing took a lot of the same concepts from this game, I'm not clamoring for an open world zombies anytime soon. It is noteworthy that Call of Duty was already considering a free-to-play live service game all the way back in 2011, especially since there were plans for a Battle Royale mode as well. But yeah, I don't think we really missed out much here. But what do you think? Would you like to see any of these games release? Or are they better off collecting dust in the Activision vault? Let me know down in the comments below. And as always, make sure to leave a like and subscribe, or else Activision's only going to release Modern Warfare and Black Ops for the next 50 years. I'm just kidding. They're going to do that anyway.